So I'm going to introduce you to your dean. Those of you who are setters, go setters. But also our benefactor. PACE has been host for the last couple of years. It has really helped us solidify this program into, I think, what you're seeing today, which is a powerhouse event. And so I'd like to welcome to the stage someone who has served as the president of the NBC television network, CEO of Viacom Entertainment, and is now the dean of the business school here at PACE. Somebody who really understands this industry from the top down and the inside out. So I'm gonna interview him, and then he'll interview your keynote. So welcome to the stage, Dean Neil Braun.
Thanks, Evan. Yeah, it's great.
So you run the business school, which involves much more than media and technology, right?
Oh, yeah.
But today we're really focusing on media, entertainment, and technology. And so we were discussing a question that's kind of vital to the center of the entertainment ecosystem right now, and that is, what is television?
Yeah,
is it a box? Is television dying, or is it evolving? And if it's evolving, what is it writ large?
Well, it's definitely not dying, and it better evolve. I teach I co-teach the capstone course in our Arts and Entertainment Management program, and we actually opened class this week with the question, what is television? And we had a discussion about it. And it's clear that the word television has lost its meaning because it means so many different things to so many different people. And through the discussion, we really broke it down into 4 components. What's the delivery technology? Because Netflix is streamed, but the series that you watch on network sure feels like television. So it is format, series. But it's not just format, it's also the content within the format. You may remember HBO's tagline used to be, it's not television, it's HBO. But, so they had 1-hour series, they had The Sopranos, but it had content that was different from what you could put on broadcast TV and sell to advertisers. And then it's the revenue model. Is it subscription? Is it pay-per-view? Is it on demand? Is it advertiser supported? So I think if you think about content and format and revenue model and distribution technology, any video business you look at and you ask yourself those 4 questions, that's how you'll have a better understanding of what's going on and what part of television it is.
And those are also 4 different entry points to the business for someone who's looking to get into the business themselves.
Absolutely.
So you oversee both undergrad and grad here. I have a question for you. 5 minutes? We have 5 minutes. Okay. I have a question.
You can pretty much get everything you need.
I actually have a question that I've been asked several times. We talked about it at least at my table at lunch, which is, so I'm an undergrad and I want to work in the media entertainment industry, or I want to work in any industry, frankly. And I'm confused as to whether or not I should go to grad school right out of college, or I should take a couple years off and come back in a couple years. Do you have a point of view on that?
I have lots of answers to the question, how do I get into the business? Because it's probably the single most popular question I get asked by my students. And the first thing I tell them is be excellent at something else. Because so many people want to be in this business that if you're a great accountant or a great marketer or a great HR executive or a great finance person, that's how you get into this business. Is really it's what I opened with this morning. It's about being excellent at something that adds value to the situation. I mean, you heard the speaker from Scripps talk about the attention to detail and adding value. Your goal as a student is to make sure when you're interviewing, you can describe the kind of value you can add because you have a skill set. In terms of whether you go to grad school right away, I mean, when I talk about the Arts and Entertainment Management program here as undergrads, it's a front door. It's not vocational training. It's a business education in the context of something you're interested in, so you can be more engaged and learn more. We have hospitality and tourism. We have entrepreneurship. So I call those the front doors to the education. But we're basically teaching how to be a business person, no matter what. And all the lessons are translatable to across industries. Entertainment's a consumer product. And when we go through the value chain of development and production and distribution and exhibition, I mean, it's very similar to the value chain of any consumer product. So all the things you learn in the context of that business are applicable beyond. In terms of grad school, I really think that if you can find your way, we have a lot of students who do it both ways. But I think you appreciate your education more if you've worked a little bit. Now, the culture within our school is internship, internship, internship. I have students who've done 15 internships, which is more than enough. But it's on average, our students do 3-4 internships while they're here. And so one of the great advantages of being in New York City is when all the summer internship students from all over the country go back to their schools, a lot of those companies still want interns, and so a lot of those companies that may not be available for summer internships are available there. So a lot of our undergraduates have significant kind of job readiness when they graduate their undergraduate, and for them, they can go into the industry and get a good job, and then they have to decide, is coming back for graduate school really, for them. One other thing I'd like to make a point about that, I mean, every speaker, every panel this morning, my big curriculum push this year is analytics. And I think if you were here all morning, you heard virtually every speaker or every panel make the point that with all the data being collected today because of the digitization of all business, and this is true in every sector of the economy.
Yeah, retail as much as entertainment.
HR, every part of the economy, finance, everything. They are the ability, that doesn't mean you all have to be coders, but you ought to know the coding languages and what differentiates them and what they're used for. And being able to begin, you need to learn that vocabulary. You need to start thinking about how do you get useful information out of data. And that's my big curriculum program.
Yeah, I think there's two key parts to that, which is if you're going to specialize in analytics and that end, or even engineering and that end of the business, there's going to be a ton of jobs right now because there's that's where the big need is, and that's actually where you're actually competing as a hiring manager for talent.
Absolutely.
In a way that I've never seen before. But the second is, no matter what part of the business you're going to be in, and frankly any business, you have to be conversant in it. And if you don't know how to talk the talk in analytics and at least try to understand in your own lay way what the experts are saying to you, you're going to be a little bit lost. And then two, if you do not know how to manage engineers, if you do not know how to manage the coders and the analysts, you're not going to get good information, and garbage in, garbage out.
Absolutely.
So I have two questions for you. So that actually pre-answers a question, which is if you're going to specialize in something, that may be a good area to specialize in right now.
It is, but I really do think excellence is the key. I mean, there's always a market for excellence. I mean, that's my mantra. And if you pursue excellence, it's addictive. Once you see excellence, once you're in the room with excellence, you never want to be without excellence, and you want to make sure your reputation is about excellence. And that takes hard work and a commitment to yourself that you're going to be the best version of you.
And so something that we talked about at my table at lunch and talk about a lot is, LinkedIn is great. Using the software and the platforms that are out there to help find jobs and put yourself out there for jobs, whether it's the placement website of a corporation like NBCUniversal or Scripps or CNN or LinkedIn or one of these other job finders. It's really the ability to have a sponsor, the ability that someone's going to pass that resume on to someone that they know is hiring or is one step away. What's the best way to, A, expand that network if you're a student right now, whether a grad student who has a job or an undergrad who does not? And then secondarily, what do you do with that network once it starts to grow? Well,
I think some of the panelists this morning talked about the importance of doing your homework. I mean, the most important, I tell students all the time, so it's my same answer for cover letter as it is for when you're networking. It's be ready to say something interesting and relevant. Just shaking hands and giving somebody your business card isn't networking. And when I was president of the NBC Television Network, I used to get, wherever I went, people were shoving cards at me. And I'd go back to my office, and maybe I'd keep one and write a note on the back about what somebody said to me that made it worth keeping their card. But the rest of them went right into the garbage. That's not networking. Networking is about really doing your homework so you know something about the person, you know something about the company, you know something about what they're facing. You want to be able to say something that tells them you know who they are, what they're worried about, and you can add value to solving their problems. That's why people hire. They don't hire you because of what you want. They hire you because of what they need. So do the homework in advance and be ready to say something intelligent about why all your experiences are relevant to the needs of the person you're talking about. And one other thing that students say to me all the time, often a student will sit in my office and say, well, I don't know, I didn't really do finance internships or marketing internships. I said, well, what have you been doing? And they said, well, I worked retail, or I was a lifeguard, or I bartended, or whatever they had to do to pay the bills, because a lot of our students have to work in order to pay their tuition and live. So every one of those experiences is relevant no matter what you want to do, because I always say, did you ever deal with a difficult customer? Did you ever have a bad boss? Did you ever have a peer who was a slacker? All those situations are relevant no matter where you go. And the things you learn and your ability to show that you've learned those things will say something about you, about, okay, this person is a learner, and they have gotten experiences that they see the patterns, they understand how to apply it elsewhere. That's real valuable.
Let me ask you, I'm going to turn completely around. So you were at the business school now, you've worked at Viacom, you've worked at NBC. What was before you got into upper management at the television enterprises that you worked at, what was your expertise? How did you come up through the industry?
I was a first-year lawyer, and I was in the lawyer's lunchroom at a big firm here in New York that does a lot of entertainment. I was a corporate attorney, but they do a lot of entertainment work. And one of the entertainment attorneys told me that they had a new client that was figuring out a new way to finance movies, and they were looking for a corporate associate. You heard this morning about say yes, raise your hand. I got up. I went to the assigning partner, and I said, I hear there's a movie financing new client, and you're looking for a corporate associate. Pick me. So he did.
Did you know anything about the movie industry?
Nothing. And it was the Small Business Administration had identified that independent producers are a lot like small business people, and they were subject to the stranglehold of an oligopoly of major studios, and so they were going to funding producers. And so I became the expert on this SBA program that was going to finance independent producers. Nobody else was studying this. I was a year out of law school. I read and read and read. I knew every regulation. And then I had to translate between Hollywood language and SBA language. So I became a translator. I was in every meeting. I was in every deal conversation. And I learned a lot about film.
And you were an associate at that point?
I was a first-year associate.
So you were 25, 26 years old?
Like that.
So you just jumped into the fray. You became an expert on it really quickly. You became the indispensable part of that thing. And then did you leap from the firm to the client side? Right away?
Yeah.
To that client?
To that client. As soon as we raised the money and put the funding together, because the SBA was going to lend us money, but we had to raise equity. As soon as we had the money, I left and became general counsel. So I went from being the junior associate, working for the senior associate, working for the junior partner, working for the senior partner, working for the client, to being the client and talking directly to the partner.
And you were 30 at that point, maybe?
No, I was
still in your 20s.
I was literally, I don't know, late 20s.
So that thing is emulating itself right now. In the opportunities like that were not that fast at that point. So you were actually right place, right time to a certain extent.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, a lot of my life has been like that.
But now with all these startups happening, stories from a law firm or a design firm or from any kind of client service into a client-side thing that is just starting up by becoming indispensable really quickly, that's happening a lot.
Yeah. I mean, be the go-to person. I mean, you heard it, the themes are so consistent. I invite alumni back all the time. I'll tell you, whether they're working for a Big Four accounting firm or they're working for an ad conglomerate, global ad conglomerate, or they're in a media company, the themes about success are totally consistent. It's value-added, do your homework, work hard, raise your hand, to take risks outside your comfort zone, all the things that people talk about.
And becoming an expert in a certain area. I mean, you went to law school, you were right out of law school, you jumped in this area, so the analytical approach to understanding the specific assignment and looking for the specific set of solutions that the client needed came from the education that you gave yourself. So there are a number of people here who have expressed that, well, I am thinking about going to law school, or I'm in law school, but there are also a lot of people I think you and I know who are lawyers, who have a JD and are looking to pivot into a different side of the business.
Absolutely.
That prism, brings that. And Richard's, who's going to be our keynote, he came up through PR.
Yeah.
Is that true? So he was a publicist.
Yeah.
A number of years working in PR on the agency side, and then on the business side. Worked in PR, became head of PR, head of communications, and now runs the whole show. Correct?
Right.
So becoming an expert in that one field and becoming really well known as someone who knows one thing incredibly well gets you to that higher plane where eventually you get the chance to be a generalist at some point.
A number of years ago, an IBM executive coined the phrase the T-shaped executive. I don't know if you've ever heard that one.
I have, yeah.
And I like it because if you think about the shape of a T, the vertical part of the T is what you have to drill down deep on. You have to have a skill to get to the table. You have to be able to add value, or you're not going to get invited to the table. But it's not enough to just have one skill. The horizontal part of the T is you have to speak all the languages of business. And by the way, if you can make literary references and political references and historical references, the more languages you speak, the more breadth you have to being an educated person, it's going to add credibility and trust to everything you say and everything you want to do. So drill down deep, but be worldly and learn the language.
I think that applies to the T-shaped applicant or the T-shaped person out in the world too. Again, we talked about this at lunch. Getting a narrative that is very consistent across everything that you can become the expert in, that you become the go-to person in, is incredibly important. Then you can become well-rounded. And that helps raise you up. But without the support, the thing just falls flat.
Absolutely.
So you've been in the television business for blah, blah, years. Beyond the technology, which is the 800-pound gorilla, we know that's changing the way consumption and distribution. That's kind of table stakes right now. The television industry and the content within the format goes through cycles, goes through waves. It's reality television. It's not reality television. It's all comedy. It's not comedy anymore. Now it's all drama. Of late, so he's here? Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to leave that to you, and you can ask your next guest. I'm going to let you introduce everybody.
Okay.
So thanks. It was good talking to you.
Thanks.
Take it easy.